Set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your heart. For love is strong as death. Love is strong as death. Set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your heart. For love is strong as death. Many waters cannot quench love, neither can the floods neither can the floods drown tears, neither can the floods, neither can the floods Set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your heart. For love is strong as death is strong as
Good morning and welcome to Virtual Sunday Worship with us at First Parish in Framingham.
I am the Reverend Aaron Stockwell, Senior Minister, and it is my honor and joy and privilege to serve this congregation.
I am Rebecca Crawford, Director of Religious Exploration. We are so glad that you are here this morning. Please do say hello in the chat window if you haven't already.
Unitarian Universalism is a faith for all souls. It does not matter your skin color, your age, where you came from, who you love, how you move around in this world.
It does not matter whether you are on the beginning of your life journey or at the end. Dear one, you are welcome in this virtual but very real community.
Hey, if this is your first time visiting us and watching this service, go team. That's awesome. We are so glad that you are here. There's a link right below this video where you can fill out a form so we can make sure to get you the information that you need. Or you can email Sarah Morrison Neal at office@uuframingham.org.
Please reach out if you need anything at all. And reach out if you have strengths or skills to offer too. We are all in this together, and together we will help each other through.
If you're watching this service live, immediately following the service will be our Zoom coffee hour. It'd be so good to see your faces, and everyone is encouraged to join. The information for how to log in will be on the final screen.
Love has held our congregation together since 1701. It is a love larger than any walls or screens. So welcome to First Parish in Framingham.
Let us now join our voices together but separately as we sing our opening hymn, number 318, We Would Be One.
Hallelujah.
Our chalice lighting this morning comes to us from the words of Connie Simon, minister of First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. This is the hour. The time has come. Mindful of our responsibilities as leaders of this faith and guardians of the living tradition, we call upon that great cloud of witnesses, those who came before, those who are here now, and those who have yet to come. We seek their presence, love, and support in this place at this hour. We kindle this flame to light their path and call them near as we undertake this sacred work.
And as the children of our congregation light their chalices at home, you too are invited to kindle a flame or engage in another ritual practice. When your candle is lit, feel free to type into the chat, "The chalice is lit in my home," or "The chalice is lit in our home."
As we light our chalices in our home and here in our sanctuary together, I've brought forth this chalice puzzle, this one flame lit by all of our many flames and fires together. What are the talents? What are the hopes, the dreams? What are the things that you bring here to First Parish? Well, Reverend Aaron and I did a little brainstorming and came up with a few, but we'd love to hear from you. What are the ones that you bring here? Perhaps it is hope. Hope for a brighter tomorrow, hope for time together, hope for the future. Perhaps it is compassion, the ways in which we treat one another in our relationships. Maybe it is, in fact, your treasure, your pledges, your Sunday morning offerings, or simply perhaps your time that you devote to this community, whether you serve on the Board of Assessors or give your time within RE, or simply the time to lend an ear to a friend. Perhaps it is your voice. You sing in the choir, or you speak up when you see injustice. Your support of one another. Your talents. Perhaps it is you that is able to climb to the top of the church tower and change the clocks. Or maybe the time you spend giving your promise. Everything that you could potentially bring here, or maybe the promise of our covenant, that we are indeed a faith community seeking justice in the world. Maybe you bring your perspective, the way you think about this world in all of its uniqueness, and challenges and comforts the perspectives of others. I wonder, what do you bring here to this community? I invite you to type it in the chat window now.
From all that dwell below the skies, birds of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, through every land, by every tongue.
Love is the doctrine of our church, the quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve all life with compassion, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God.
Today, I would like to share with you an old folk tale, one you may know well already. In fact, I've told it before. It is known by many names: stone soup, axe soup, button soup. But no matter, it is the same basic story. Some travelers come to a village and they are tired and hungry, and they carry nothing more than a cooking pot with them. They approach one villager after another, but no one seems willing to share their food with them. And so the villagers go to the stream, fill their pot with water, drop a large stone into it, and place the pot over a fire. One villager becomes curious and wanders over to see what they are making. And the travelers explain that they are making stone soup, which is delicious and wonderful, and which they would be delighted to share with the villager. But it's missing some garnish to improve the flavor. So the villager, who is anticipating enjoying this bounty of stone soup, rushes home, collects a few carrots that they don't mind particularly parting with, and adds them to the soup. Another villager wanders past, asks about the pot, and again, the villagers and the travelers tell their story, though the soup hasn't quite yet made its full potential. This second villager rushes home and grabs some seasoning to add to the pot. One by one, the villagers walk by and add another ingredient to the pot, until finally the stone, being in fact inedible, is removed from the pot, and a delicious and nourishing pot of soup is enjoyed by travelers and villagers alike. Now, in some versions of this old folk tale, the travelers are soldiers returning home from war. In Portugal, the story is told that the traveler is a monk. And today, a regional dish of Almarim, an area of Portugal, is called sopa de pedra, or stone soup. In another version, there are 3 monks that are traveling, and they devise this whole setup of stone soup in order to find out what it is that makes people happy. So I wonder, what would our stone soup at First Parish in Framingham taste like? If this building that I stand in today is the pot, and our faith tradition is the hungry traveler, what will you bring to flavor our stone soup? I cannot wait to gather once again in the richness of our community to share a bowl with you.
Now is the time in our service that we set aside for sharing of the things which weigh deepest on our hearts, the joys, the sorrows, the milestones, the happy and sad events. We'll have prompts on the screen that will give a little bit more order to our sharing. Feel free to type those things into the chat. Of course, in this public and virtual space, we can't guarantee privacy. So if there's something that you think I need to know about, please be sure to send me an email.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, Sing with me, oh my soul. Stay with me, stay with me, stay with me, oh my soul. Stay with me, stay with me, stay with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul.
Now let us move a little bit deeper into a space of contemplation, meditation, or perhaps even prayer. I invite you to bring your attention to whatever surface is supporting you. Could be a chair, could be a couch, could be a bed, could be driver's seat of a car. O Spirit of life and love, named and unnamed, but who calls you and us by our true first name, which is beloved. I give thanks for this religious community, for all of the members and friends that make it what it is. The Spirit of life knows the places in our lives that are fractured. It knows the illness that we live with, addiction that we dance with. It knows the pain. May we find ways to bridge that pain, to reach out with compassion, to be love's hands in the world. As we go past a year of living with COVID in our communities, may we still find strength and hope when hope is hard to find. Hope that is brought with each vaccination. Hope that was brought to us by scientists and clinical trial participants. I also send and hope for resiliency for all of the frontline workers of our community and especially of our congregation. O Spirit of life and love, we come to you with broken hearts, violence once again in our nation, this time in Atlanta. May we stand up or side with love and declare that anti-Asian sentiment which is also baked into the apple pie of our country. May we declare that that is uncalled for. May we stand firm in that regard. For all of our Asian and Pacific Islander siblings, may we send love and may we work to be active bystanders when they experience harassment. May we work and declare that hatred has no place in our society when Black people are harassed, when Native people are harassed, when people with disabilities or people who live in the queer community, when they are harassed. It is up to us to bring more love into the world. From time to time, we slip up, we trip up, we fail, we fumble with our words. Our imperfections are a little too glaring. May we be gentle with ourselves. May we say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and ask the most important question of all: how can I do better? I say these words and do all things for love's sake. May it be so, and amen. And now, once our bell has finished ringing, I invite you to pay attention to the quiet of your separate houses. Listen. Notice the quality of that quiet. Let us sit and rest. As we leave this time of quiet and end our time of contemplation, meditation, prayer, I invite you to take 3 breaths. The first is a breath for longing. The second is a breath for becoming. And the final breath is a breath for joy. This marks the season of our congregation's life where we consider the financial support that we give to it. Throughout these next several weeks, you will hear from members of our congregation about why this community is special and important to them, and also why they make a financial commitment. Michael Packard, the co-chair of our Board of Assessors, will share his testimonial this week. Thank you, Michael, for all that you and your family bring to our faith community as well as our wider faith.
Hello, I'm Michael Packard. I've been a member here at First Parish in Framingham for about 16 years. Currently, I serve as co-chair of the Board of Assessors, and it's my 3rd year on the board. When I first came to Framingham with my wife Valerie, we were looking for a spiritual community. She was raised Unitarian Universalist, I was raised Catholic, but I figured I'd give Unitarian Universalism a chance. And although it took me a while to get on board with theology, once we came to First Parish in Framingham, we immediately felt like this was our home, our spiritual community. We became members not long after we first started coming here, and after that, we began pledging and volunteering. Because, I don't know about you, but growing up in my family, you were always asked to pitch in. And in a church family, there's a lot to do. You might want to help worship. You might be on a committee to help run the organizational part of the church. You might be involved in social outreach or social action. or maybe you like the spiritual growth part of the church. All of those things are important, and they identify who we are in the community of Framingham. And the volunteering time that you give to those is very important. And just like in a family, over time, one's responsibilities grow. I first started out as sort of like a child putting away groceries, and now I'm chair of the board. So eventually, your responsibilities grow as well. And that pledging part, the part about money, that, as much as you can, that should probably grow as well. If you continue to sustain yourselves, the church needs to continue to be sustained as well. Just like as if you live in a home or an apartment, you have bills to pay, so does the church. But also, in order to have all this great programming that we do and to support the day-to-day, year-to-year work that the church does, we hire staff. And we really hope that we can get the best out of our staff by supplying them with resources and training and anything else they might need. And we do that by compensating them fairly, and we're hoping that this year's Canvas can do that. So I'm asking all of you, just as I will be doing, look at the pledge you do, see if you can increase it, see if the money that you give to the church is reflective of what you're getting out of it. If it is, I hope that you can find that you give generously this year. Thank you.
It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, by and by. It's in every one of us. Just remembered, it's like I've been sleeping for years. Not awake as I can be, but my seeing is better, and I see through the tears. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, by and by. I've been realizing that I bought this ticket, but I'm only watching half of the show. But there are scenery and lights and a cast of thousands. You all know what I know, and it's good that it's so. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all
Dear one, our church community depends on your generosity, and through that generosity, we do good works out in the community. Valerie, one of our delegates from our congregation to the UU Urban Ministry, is going to share a little bit more about the UU Urban Ministry's vital mission and invite you to help support it with our Share the Plate offering for the month of March. Valerie?
Good morning. Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry is located in the Roxbury neighborhood of Boston. It depends upon the financial support and volunteer support of approximately 50 Unitarian Universalist congregations. UU Urban Ministry focuses in 3 areas: safer shelter and workforce development programming, academic enrichment for Boston youth of color, safer shelter and workforce development programming, and arts and humanities programming, some of which take place on the UU property, First Church in Roxbury. Prior to the pandemic, they had wonderful concerts. However, now they just have various programming on Zoom. Renewal House is the emergency shelter for people fleeing domestic violence. This year, due to the pandemic, it has supported them in apartments. However, at the end of May, they hope to welcome folks back to the Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry shelter with the shared living space, and they offer counseling and other services. Believe in Success is a program that prepares residents of Renewal House and others for work and building confidence. This month, it started with a group of 8 students participating in a fully virtual program. One alumni shared, "Believe in Success taught me how to manage a new place, a new environment, and made me feel that I can adjust. I am prepared for this. I can manage with confidence." Roxbury Youth Programs is an after-school program, Monday through Thursday, and is fully online due to the pandemic. Tutors are come from nearby colleges in Boston, and they offer assistance with college applications and preparation for college. This year, they have launched a community leadership course, which is a community engagement program that introduces and supports the development of leadership, communication, and project management skills, which are very necessary today. The students have created and highlighted prominent Bostonians in their videos. Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry has a 200-year history of empowering Boston's most underprivileged citizens. They depend upon us. Please make your check payable to First Parish in Framingham, and on the memo line note UU Urban Ministry, and then mail your check to our church, or you can follow the link below. Your support is always very deeply appreciated. I, Valerie Waldman, am a delegate from UU Urban Ministry, from our church to Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry, and also Myrna Howe and Carol Lawton, their fellow delegates. Thank you.
are you doing? How are you doing today? How is it with your soul? This has been quite a year in our lives, a year of staying apart, a year of washing your hands with extra vigilance, a year of not seeing each other's full faces, a year of loss, a year of the impossible prospect of both working from home and facilitating distance learning, sometimes for ages that are simply not suited to that challenge. We have learned a lot about ourselves as individuals during this year of physical distancing and quarantining. Members of our congregation responded to a question that I posed. What have you learned about yourself in quarantine? Here are some of the answers. I have discovered that working from home isn't as bad as I thought it would be. Still don't like it though. Another wrote, I have learned that I can go out in the cold and enjoy it. Yet another one of you wrote, I am grateful to live in a neighborhood where people know each other, because during this time of physical isolation, I can meet and talk with neighbors every day when I walk my dog. I learned that it can be good to be bold in the face of a crisis. Don't lose what is important in the busyness of life. Take time for the important stuff. Another one of you wrote, the one significant thing I realized this year is through almost daily Zoom activities through both my UU churches was how important the role of Unitarian Universalist communities are and how central they are to my life. Our support and love for one another grounded my pandemic world. Another wrote, not seeing other people unless almost completely covered, has allowed me to shuck off my shoulds inferred from those around me and to learn more about my own core values, including worrying less about my appearance and more access to my own anger. Another one wrote the importance of ritual, that they learn the importance of ritual and social connection to maintaining my mental health. Finally, one of you wrote, I am both stronger and weaker than I realized. I know others of you wrote in, but for time, these are the ones that we have shared. This has been a year in the life of our church, a year of doing church differently, a year of radically reimagining music, religious education and exploration, and communal gatherings, several reimagined congregational meetings, which I have to say feel as though they have gone smoother than before. A year, too, of heightened awareness of the vulnerable people in our community. A year of deepening our understandings of our anti-racist commitments. A year in the life of our church. And I imagine that there were tough times before. After all, when you have 320 years of history to choose from, chances are there are tougher times in our past. We are now past the 1-year mark of doing worship online. We no longer move through unprecedented times. Now, if you had asked me, Aaron, when will all of our sibling congregations move to online worship or live-streamed worship? And if you had asked me that on March 1st of last year, I would have said for some of our congregations 50 years, others never. And yet, in such a short time, we moved everything online. Before this, I had led 2 online classes ever and had live stream services probably once or twice before. We've had 21 people join our Reading Poetry as a Spiritual Practice class. Your Board of Assessors meets online, as does staff, and many of our social gatherings and classes also happen online. What amazing adaptation. To be sure, we haven't done it all perfectly, and it is accessible, but differently accessible to some. But what I hope that this year has shown is that we can extend gifts of grace when things don't go perfectly. Imperfection is okay and sometimes even welcome. I think the other thing that this year has shown is that virtual is not the opposite of real. It's the opposite of physical. It is a way of connecting that will be here to stay. The innovation that our congregations have needed happened so quickly. We have all learned a lot. Now, if I'm being honest, and why wouldn't I be, I will say that I have used the quote from the hymn Gather the Spirit that we're using as a stewardship campaign before. I've used it as the title to a kickoff sermon title a number of times. Of course, like any religious text, we encounter it differently depending on what is going on in our lives. If we continually encounter our favorite poem or song or short story throughout our lives, the answer to the question, how is this text relevant to me in the next few days, will always shift. Gather the Spirit was written by Jim Scott, and we'll sing it at the close of this sermon. He told me the story of its composition a few years ago. He wrote to me in an email. It was going to be in an interfaith service in Eugene, Oregon, and I thought I'd write a song for it. I also thought this is a song I hope to go in the hymn book. He had submitted a lot of songs to the hymn book, and all of them were rejected, with the hymn book commission saying, they're great songs, but you need to lead it. So I thought, I'm just going to make it quarter notes and put the boogieing in the accompaniment. I wrote Gather the Spirit thinking of it as a Thanksgiving song, because couldn't we use another one of those? I'm glad no one seems to see it that way, so we can sing it all year long. I was also picturing a gathering song that would be useful, and I wanted to put a little gospel feeling to it. He wrote two songs that week, Gather the Spirit and Circle of Spirit, a closing song. Now, to me, as I stand before an empty congregation, as I stand before the camera that is recording the service, and as you are watching this Sunday morning at 10, I think that this is a song that speaks to the gratitude we have for our community. It is also a song that speaks to a key change in the song of our community. For so many years, the primary expression of our religious practice has been gathering in communal gatherings at 24 Vernon Street, in the meeting house for worship, nearly always at 10 a.m., and other times, of course, in other spaces. And now the primary expression of religious practice of our communal corporal worship, yes, still mostly Sunday morning at 10 a.m., is virtual. Yes, it still happens at 10 a.m., but it is separate. And yet we are still connected. And yet we are still committed to this place, to this community. Our separate fires, the separate fires you light on Sunday morning, connect and kindle one flame. I have to say, I can wait and I can't wait to gather. I can't wait to gather until it is safe and healthy for all in our community. But I am also itching to see what pew is your usual spot. I am ready to imagine together how we continue to build our physical and real community, and how we will continue to build connection to our virtual and real community as well. I have hope, friends. My colleague, the Reverend Teresa Inez Soto, writes, our ongoing acknowledgement that each of us is somebody means that we don't need many finely crafted ways to say that in an uncertain and confusing world, the certainty we offer isn't that we have all the right answers or even all the right actions. Rather, we present the certainty that no matter what happens, we aim to move forward together. They continue to say, hope is a practice that we create. Just as mastering physical skills takes a lot of training and practice, mastering communal hope requires that we stay at it and do the actions that will bring about new states of being and new futures. The congregation that I grew up in Groton, Massachusetts, often says that it is a school for compassion. And I think that school for compassion also needs a gym for hope. Maybe that's what we could be. A place where we practice hope. But more than just practice what hope is, we are hope. You are already a place of strength. You as a community have endured 320 years of being a progressive faith community. You as individuals have experienced sorrow we must bear, failures, pain, and loss, for the good times and the bad times too. Whenever we hope, we do not do so in the spirit of vague, untethered optimism. It is more expectation. We create from a place of what may be, and if we hope enough, that world may be created. When we hope, we engage in a form of speculative fiction writing. We combine elements of what is and what is not yet. And when we write, when we create, when we engage in the creation of something new, we break out of the fetters of this world when we imagine something new. There's been a lot of uncertainty in the news lately and over the past year, and hope is hard to find. That lyric from that Carolyn McDade hymn has been echoing in my mind. What hope might we create together here? How are your hope muscles doing? Have you exercised those lately? My hope is that we continue to be an incubator for change in Framingham. I hope that we will continue to be a community where gay, lesbian, transgender, and queer youth and adults feel comfortable in coming up and are celebrated. It is my hope that all who wish to enroll in age-appropriate, comprehensive sexuality education have a place to do so. I hope that we can continue to be a place where we fill ourselves up, where we fill ourselves with a word or a song, with poetry or with silence, which gives us the strength to keep on moving into a new day. It is my hope that we create a community where parents and families are supported, where people who are ill or lonely have a listening ear and a helping hand, and maybe a casserole or four when they need it. I hope that we learn enough about the world that we become empowered to be prophets, not the kind that sees the future, still the type that James Luther Adams wrote about prophets who see through what is happening, where we call the question on injustice and oppression and say no more. It is my hope that we continue to be a place where we celebrate people who fall in love, a place where we celebrate and dedicate ourselves to sharing that task, that sacred task of raising children, and then beyond just making ceremonial promises in a dedication ceremony, we each commit to taking part in that task. I hope that we continue to be a church that says no one dies alone. What are your hopes for this place, for this congregation? Again, I go back to Reverend Soto's words. When they write, "We are in this together," means that we choose each other over and over as communities and sources of hope. Maybe we'll repeat it often. Now, of course, one other way we make our connections real is by discerning what our financial commitments are to this community, especially in a year of uncertainty with a substantial decrease in rental income. We depend on your financial support. We are in a season of renewing our commitments to this congregation, or perhaps making them for the first time. Whatever you call the promise you make to this place, or the gifts that you plan on sharing, please consider it as a way of saying, I am in this together. We are in this together. Use it as a way to share your hope. And please, when hoping, don't just think about what you currently want or need from a faith community. Move to a place of thinking, what does our community, our wider community need? Whose broken heart can we mend in our community? Again, we are in a season where we consider if we could increase our gift to both strengthen this community and to sustain its mission. You'll hear from other members of our congregation as to why this place matters throughout these next few months. Later today, if you're watching on Sunday, March 21st, please do stop by the parking lot of the church from 2 to 4 to pick up your stewardship packets. This decision of how to support our congregation, what we will do to embody that feeling of how are we in this together. This feeling of being all in this together as we forge our future, we must consider what our legacy will be. We must consider how a decision we make will impact the future. One Native American tribe, the Haudenosaunee Nation, which lived in the area we would call New York State, had in their constitution, which they called the Gayanashagawa, this oath of office. Look and listen for the welfare of the whole people, and always have in view not only the present, but also the coming generations, even those whose faces are yet beneath the surface of the ground, the unborn of the future nation. Another translation of this is, in every deliberation, we must consider the impact of the seventh generation. My friends, watching this on your own separate devices, but gathered together in virtual and real community, let's exercise those hope muscles. Not the practical ones, but the ones that dare to dream bold dreams. As we go into the future, how will we make known that we are all in this together? We are stronger when we're all in this together. May it be so, and amen.
Gather the Spirit, harvest the heart. Our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of His Son. By faith in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind. Seeds for the sowing are laid in store. Nurtured in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather and celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in us, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer never to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again.
This benediction inspired by the words of John Saxton. This religious community exists by its mission, as a fire exists by burning. But a fire cannot burn without fuel. And it is the time, the energy, the imagination, the vision, the creativity, the compassion, the love, and the financial support of the members and friends of this community that fuels our mission to nurture and sustain a welcoming, inclusive, and diverse liberal religious community that transforms lives and serves the world. May your support, the free and generous support of each and every member and friend of First Parish in Framingham, be what fuels this community and its mission. And may our collective flames of justice, community, and love burn brightly to warm ourselves and be a beacon in a world that is threatened by division and fear. Blessed be.
Our time together is drawing to an end. But before you close this browser window, I invite you to blow out your candle or engage in another ritual of goodbye. And I invite you to type into the chat, "I carry the flame," or "We carry the flame."